A lot of y'all know when y'all not supposed to be with somebody. God has probably already told you that. But instead of listening, you want to go in the complete and opposite direction and do whatever it is that you want to do. What is up, guys? Sophia here, your spiritual transformation coach, and I'm super casual today because me and you, we gonna have some one-on-one talk. We gonna talk because today I am talking to you about the signs to know that God is pulling somebody out of your life. And a lot of y'all know that God is pulling somebody out of your life, but you just refuse to accept it. And so if you're confused, I'm going to tell you 5 things so that you can make no mistake about that you need to let this person go. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and without further delay, let's go ahead and get right into the video, shall we? Tip number 1 is that God is moving you away from that person. If it's hard for you to get to that person, for you to be around that person, for y'all to spend time together, and it just seems like a whole bunch of obstacles are in your way, then that's a sign. And so to prove my point, I want to go to the story of Jonah, and then we're going to start at chapter 1, verse 1. And this is basically where God told Jonah to go to Nineveh, right? So in your situation, God could be like, stay away from your ex, don't go near your ex, but you're like, no, I don't want to do that. And so in the 3rd verse, you see, but Jonah ran away to Tarshish to escape the presence of the Lord and his duty as a prophet. So basically, God said, go this way. Jonah chose to go that way. So like I said in the intro, a lot of y'all know when y'all not supposed to be with somebody. God has probably already told you that. But instead of listening, you want to go in the complete and opposite direction, ignore the presence of the Lord or ignore his voice completely, and do whatever it is that you want to do. And then here's what happens. Since you don't want to listen, God's going to make you do what he told you to do. Basically, Jonah went on the boat. God caused a big old storm because he told Jonah not to go this way. And then the crew tossed Jonah off of the boat, and then the whale came and ate Jonah up because he won't listen. And if you don't listen and you try to go in the opposite direction of what God is telling you to do, then you may notice that a whole bunch of obstacles are in your way, or it is very difficult or emotionally draining for you to get back to that person. And that's because you're Jonah and God is sending a storm. He's sending a whale. He is telling people to toss you off the boat. He is trying to get you to move away from that person because you won't listen on your own. So my second tip is that it may start to feel like God is punishing you, or God may be legitimately actually punishing you. And some of y'all may realize that you're not listening, or some of y'all really may be oblivious to the fact that God is showing you every sign in the world, and you are like, no, that can't be. And you're just rationalizing all of these bad things as it may be something else. So at this point, if you feel like you're getting punished by God, or crap is going wrong to you, that is because God is trying to tell you that you are going against his will, and he's trying to get your attention. But since you are going against me, I am going to hurt you. And I know that sounds terrible, but it doesn't have to be physically. It can be anything, but really it's just God's way of kind of saying like, yo, listen, and I'm going to really shake you up until you do listen. And so the verse that I want to go to is Acts 26, and it is verse 14. God had struck Saul blind because Saul was persecuting Jesus. He was doing the absolute most. And the only way that God could get Saul's attention was to strike him blind. And then Saul said, why are you persecuting me? And then the Lord said, it is hard for you to kick repeatedly against the goads, offering pointless resistance. So what are goads? So basically in that time, they had these contraptions that they would put on cattle. And if the cattle start going every which way that the person didn't want them to go, they would be jabbed in the ribs and they would literally hurt themselves. And so the only way to prevent that from happening is if they were to actually go in the direction, aka you, go in the direction that God wanted them to go, which is away from that person. But if you keep going back to that person, then you are literally allowing the goads or the pricks to kind of like stab you, and you are causing yourself pain. And it's not that God wants to hurt you, but it is his way of saying, when you continuously go against what I want for you, you are actively choosing to hurt yourself. Now, some of y'all might just want to hurt yourself forever and y'all might never give up. But some of y'all may get pricked a few times. Y'all may get pricked a whole lot of times and it's bruised and it's bleeding and you're like, okay, I get it. Let me just go in the direction that God wants me to go, away from this person, and this isn't painful anymore. So if you notice that a whole lot of like punishment or things are going wrong in your life, especially if it's associated to this person or when you associate yourself with this person, then that is an indication that God is trying to cut them out your life. My third tip is that the relationship is toxic, or it may be having you do things that are normally out of your character that you know God does not want you to do. An example of that could be if this person like does drugs or shoots heroin up their arm or something, I don't know, and they want you to do it, or they have you around that environment, or they sell drugs, or they do something illegal. Obviously, you know God don't want you in that environment. So therefore, that is a toxic situation. If that person is a bad influence on you and they are causing you to now be a bad influence, then that's a prime indicator that God don't want you with that person, because guess what? God is not going to put you with anybody that is going to take your focus off of him. And so I want to go into the story of David and Bathsheba. So David was known for being a man after God's own heart. So after he, was king, he saw Bathsheba bathing on the rooftop. Bathsheba was married. He lusted after her. That's problem number one. Then he slept with her. That's issue number two, because he committed adultery with this person. Then he got her pregnant. And then that's issue number three. And instead of him accepting his defeat, David then invited her husband home to try to trick her husband into sleeping with his wife so that he could say that, the husband got her pregnant. So that's issue number four, because now you're lying. And so when that didn't work, David then was like, okay, he didn't sleep with his wife while he was back from war. So then David had to cover up all of this sin that he just had. And so then he sent Bathsheba's husband back to war and intentionally put him on the front lines so that he could get killed, so that he could hide his sin of sleeping with that man's wife and also be with Bathsheba. So if you go to Samuel 11:15, David wrote a letter after putting Uriah, which is Bathsheba's husband, in the front line of the heaviest fighting and leave him so that he may be struck down to die. And see, this is crazy because David was known as, and I'll put my video about David in the bottom when I talk about believing yourself, because David always had this attitude of like, God is with me, can't nobody be against me. So he always had this attitude of being one with God. But here you see he got involved with the wrong person and it led to sin A through X. So if you know that being around this person is taking you out of God's will for you, then you know that God does not want you to be with that person. So my fourth tip is that person will actually reject you. So if you have gotten through all this, you allowing your body to be pricked, you allowing yourself to be punished, you kind of moving away from God's will, doing some stuff you know you don't have no business doing and that God don't want you to do. At this point, God is like, okay, you know what? I'm not even talking to you no more because you don't listen. So now I'm gonna talk to this other person that I know for a fact you don't need to be with, and I'm going to make it so that they send you away. And they don't even have to be a godly person. He could make something happen so that, that person sends you away. So I want to go to the story of Abraham and Haggai. So in this particular situation, Abraham had a child with Haggai because his wife Sarah told him to, because she didn't have children. And then at this point, Sarah got so irritated by having Haggai and Abraham's son around that she was like, you know what, homegirl gotta go. So the situation with you could mean like his friends may be telling you that you gotta go. His family might not like you, or whatever the situation is, somebody might be saying like, you don't need to be with her, and it's going to cause them to send you away. Or they might have some inkling that they just need to send you away. And it doesn't even have to be a legitimate reason, because really Abraham sent his own biological child away and Haggai away. And it wasn't even Haggai's idea to have a child by Abraham. It was his wife's. So really, Haggai really didn't have a part in this situation. You can be completely innocent, but you still the one getting dumped and sent away and treated like trash. And so at this point, if you go to Genesis 21:14, it says, Abraham got up early in the morning, took bread skins, gave some water to Hagar, putting them on his shoulder, and gave her the boy and sent him away. And she left and lost her way and wandered out into the wilderness. So it wasn't even like he sent her away with a whole bunch of food. It was kind of a cold-hearted thing, in the sense that he was like, all right, you gotta go. My wife said you gotta go. God said you gotta go. And even though it's not right, you can't be in the situation with me. Because really, Haggai didn't belong with Abraham. His wife did, and then she had their son Isaac. So my whole point of all of this, that if you feel like this person is treating you bad, trying to break up with you, trying to send you away, instead of you continuously try to be with them, and especially if it's due to no fault of your own, then that's probably an indicator that God has been trying to talk through you. You won't listen. So now God is talking to them, and whether they are cognizant of it or not, they are sending you away for your own good, because it is God's will, and that's the only way that he can see fit to get you away from that person. The fifth and final sign that God is trying to tear that person out of your life is that you are not equally yoked with this person, or that y'all are not headed in the right direction. And so this could be spiritually, this could be life-wise. That person could be bringing you down. You could be working hard while they leech off of you. It could be anything. But like Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together unless they agree? Relationship is never going to move forward if you two are not in an agreement, or if you're not in agreement in God's eyes, because both of y'all could agree on the relationship moving forward. But if God doesn't feel like that is the best person for you, and you're just blind to the fact that that's not the best person for you, but y'all are not equally yoked, and he is not in an agreement about where you two are going, then homeboy gotta go. And so I actually want to take the story of Lot. And so if you're familiar with the story of Lot, God was about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. He destroyed everyone in it, but he told Lot and his daughters and Lot's wife that if you were to leave Sodom and Gomorrah, you will be saved. So in these specific directions, the angels of God specifically told Lot, don't look back. Not just you, Lot, but you and your family. So I want to go to Genesis 19:15. And so it says, the angel said, get up, take your wife and 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away by punishment of the city. So that might be you and your other person. And God is like, okay, you know what? I'll give y'all a chance. See if he can follow direction. See if you two are equally yoked, and see if you are in agreement. Because God already knew what was going to happen to Lot's wife, right? And so he was like, all 3 of y'all, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go. But then he gave them some specific directions and said, in verse 17, do not look behind you or stop anywhere in the entire valley. Escape the mountains of Moab, or you will be consumed and swept away. So if God had told you something specifically, this is the test where it's like God is giving you and that person a test. And so God has told all of them the same direction. If you are listening to God, like you as the Christian person are listening to God, then you are going to take what God says and you are going to obey. Now you have to apply that to your specific situation. If you're with a no good, broke behind man who just want to leech off of you, but you claim that you're in love, God's direction might have been, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to break y'all up, even though he's like running you into the ground and taking all your money. You know, give him an opportunity to get a job. But then when they don't get a job and they continuously leech off of you, and it's to the point that they're pulling you down and making you broke, and now they're holding you back because they're not giving to the relationship, but they're taking away from the relationship, then God is like, you know, you gotta go. And he's going to make it so that he has to go. So if you look in Genesis 19:26, it specifically says this, but Lot's wife from behind him foolishly, because God told him not to do it, longingly looked back towards Solomon in an act of disobedience. And she became a pillar of salt. So homegirl died right on the spot. God did not say, let me give you a warning. No, because the warning was telling you specifically what you need to do, and you actively chose to disobey God, while Lot chose to obey God. So in your specific situation, if you're with somebody, even if you're not sure if God has pulled you away, but God is telling you to give that person an opportunity, then sure, listen to the opportunity, but it is always up to you both to obey God. And if that other person is showing any type of active disobedience against God, then God is not going to kill them, of course. That's a bit extreme. But God may find a way to pull that person out of your life, because at this point, if Lot would have turned and looked back and grabbed his wife, then he too would have been turned into salt. So there's no reason for both of them to die when Lot already know what God said. God wasn't going to allow Lot's wife to hold him back because she was the disobedient one. He would just rather disregard her altogether and just let Lot go about his business on his own. Sucks, but that's how God is. He's never gonna allow you to be with somebody who is holding you back. So those are my 5 tips of signs that God is trying to tear somebody out of your life. I'm also going to put my blog post down in the description box about why are you trying to hold on to people that God is trying to pull away, along with my book for single women. So just check the description box in case you want to know more about this topic, because this video can only be so long. Don't forget to subscribe, heart, follow, notification bell, whatever you are watching this platform on. Give me some positive feedback. Give me a comment of your situation, and let me know what dilemmas you're dealing with when it comes to, knowing if God is meant for you to be with this person or not, or if God is trying to, give them the boot. All right, I will talk to you and see you guys another time. Bye, y'all.